Hey there, it's Shannon with Gigi's Fabric Shop, home of Janome Junkies and Junkies. And today's episode, I've got something very exciting, and that is we're going to learn about the Janome 550 LE embroidery machine, all things LCD panel. Want to learn more? Stay tuned. Before we dive into this amazing machine, I want to tell you a little bit about Janome Junkies. First, we're a locally owned business right here in Tampa Bay, Florida, and our #1 priority is you. That's what we're here for. Customer service is what we're known for, and our goal is to match make a machine for you. And when you start your embroidery journey, I'll be there for you and with you every step of the way as much as you need me. We're a phone call away, and if you need any support, that's what we stand behind. Visit us at janomejunkies.com for any information regarding this and other embroidery machines. Of course, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, you should do so because we have great videos on these Janome embroidery machines, plus sewing machines too. So don't forget to subscribe. All right, so we're at our LCD screen, and what I want to do is just take the time to go through all of the buttons that you see here. So the first one up, this is your home button. This is your open file button. This is your set key mode button. This is your help button, and then if you want to lock it, especially when you're threading the machine. So just become familiarized with these buttons. We'll use these throughout the video so you can see all that they do. So this video, like I said, we're going to break this up into two sections, or two videos rather. We're going to spend today talking about these two sections, which are your images or patterns that are loaded on the machine. You get 180 patterns on this Janome 550E, and you get 6 fonts along with some monogramming. So we're going to spend a lot of time going through these buttons today. And our next video, we're going to break down how to edit some of these files. I thought maybe it would be too much, so we're just going to break that down into two separate videos. Okay, so first up is we're going to go through these. So this is going to be your pattern, like I said, where you're going to find your patterns that are loaded onto your machine. And we're going to start there first. So simply take your stylus, and you can push this pattern key. Now, there is like I said, 180 designs loaded on your machine. And let me walk you through a little bit of how you can navigate, because there's a few different ways that you can navigate the patterns key. First up, you can navigate through your designs here. So let me just go back and show you what I did. I literally click this flower button, which is going to take me back to all of my patterns, and you can actually look for the design in categorized folders. So I'll walk you through the folders. We have petite designs, we have favorite designs, we have border designs, geometric. You can see I'm toggling between our page views here. So this is page up and page back. So we have bracelet, we have celebration designs, we have wedding designs, we have some really cute in the hoop designs like stuffies. Looks like I'm on page 3. Let me go back to page 2. Kind of a nice learning so I can show you how to navigate between the different pages. We have pantry, we have some word style designs. The flourish design, I'm just going to push on that for a second. This is some beautiful fonts that you can use for monogramming with some beautiful floral. I'll just press this up so you can see all the intricate detail that's on this design. This is loaded right on your machine, which I love. So I'm just going to go back to my back button, go back to my flower button, and we're just going to navigate through these different folders. Included in this machine is fantastic sashiko designs. I think this is highly sought after. Folks love these designs. We've got some designs set up here, and then last is your calibration. So that's one way that you can look for designs, is by folders. The next way you can do by designs is here. So this other key is a hoop key. If you press on that, this is yet another way that you can sort of sort or filter your designs are by hoop. So the last way was all of the pages and all of the designs, no matter the size of the hoop. Let's say you know you only want to sew in the smallest hoop, which is our 140 by 140. You can simply press that and any design that's built into the machine will come up. You can see we have 11 pages. So these are designs specific for that smaller hoop. And you can just scroll through the variety of pages. You can see here there's a number of fantastic designs, again, already loaded on your machine. Let me go back to my hoop key and let's pick the largest hoop. And I'll pick the largest hoop, and again, it's going to categorize in the patterns what design will fit that larger hoop. So you can see here are my stuffies. I've got some end-to-end hoop designs, and like I said, that USB that comes with this machine, you also get 30 more designs. So just to recap, there are two ways to source your designs. You can go to that flower key. So there's your flower key, and you can source by folder, scrolling through the pages, or you can go back to the X and you can do by hoop, and you can select your hoop size. All right, so let's spend a little bit of time on this section here, which is your font section. So let's click on that. And what I'll tell you are there are 6 fonts loaded into your machine, which I like. They are some fantastic fonts and great way for you to start practicing on. So if we press this key right here, all of our fonts are going to come up in order. Like the other screen, we know we have 2 pages. So we have most of our fonts are listed here. As we scroll through the second pages, we can see we've got some monogramming here. We'll talk more about that in a minute. We've got some borders and normal sew. We definitely will spend more time also in our editing video on what you can do with these. I'll just pop on here because it's so cool. There's all these little different designs. I can pull up the little music note here. And so the machine actually recognized this as a letter, even though it's an image, and you can do some really cute borders and different designs. You can copy and paste and do a whole bunch of them if you want to. We'll spend more time in the editing. And this right here, this function is going to be whether you want it horizontal or vertical. So you can see if I click on that, it switches horizontal or vertical. This next button is going to be, let me actually type a letter in so you can see what happens. So let me go back to my fonts. Let me pick. So I'll just type in dream, and we'll say this right here. When you click on this, SLM, this indicates the size of the letter that you're looking for, small, medium, and large. So small, medium, and large, you can click on that and select which one you would like. And then on this button, you can actually select whether you want lowercase or uppercase. So if I wanted to come back here and I wanted my D capitalized, which it is, I can come back over here and pick my lowercase, and I can do DREAM. I'm going to cancel this out. I'm going to go back, and I'm going to actually, now that I went through what these meant, I'm going to go back to my fonts, and I'm going to select a monogram. So let's do a 3-letter monogram. And in here, you've got a couple options here. So here, like traditional monogramming, you can just plug in your monogram, your initials. So you can see it already sets it up in a monogram. And so this is the monogram that's included in here. But what I wanted to show you is another little cool feature that this embroidery also includes. So I'm going to hit my back button here. So that erases what I did. And let's say I wanted to add a border. And I really like this one right here. So a nice little border. And if I do the same thing and include my initials, it's actually going to put in my initials exactly where they need to go, right in my border. So I love that little feature. We've got a couple different designs here that you can use for monogramming. I'm going to show you that if I go back to fonts, we actually have some other design elements that we can use. So let's pick Gothic again. And if you scroll here, I have 5 pages. So I have the alphabet that's here. But if I scroll through, I have numbers, I have symbols, I have the @ if you wanted to put your website on something. I have all of these different elements that are also included. So it's not just letters, it's actually all of the elements within that particular alphabet, including numerals and different fonts. So I wanted to call that attention out. Make sure that you spend a little bit of time navigating through the different pages, because you never know when maybe you want to use a symbol like that and you didn't know you had it. So let's say you wanted to add a space in between your letters. And that's pretty easy as well. I'm still in the Gothic font, and so I'm going to add an M, and I want to add a space. We have 2 space options here. We have a little wider space and more of a narrow space, so you just space it, and I can add my M. And I can do a little narrow space, and I can add my M. So you can see the difference between the width of the larger space and the second space. And so those are what those 2 down there mean, and these are your space buttons here. All right, so now that we actually spent a little bit of time going through the pattern design and the font design, let's spend a little bit of time on what these mean over here. All right, so the first one here is your home button. So if you ever want to go back to your home screen, patterns, fonts, your edit screen, you always want to push your home button. This right here is going to be where you save your files. So on the 550E and the 500, you have 2 options. You can actually save a design onto the machine, or you can save it to a USB. I don't have a USB in right now, but this is where you would save a file. So if you were in here and you did a monogram, you can save that file. Next up is your set button, and these are your common settings that probably when you come in you'll want to look at and just become familiarized with it. So here's your screen contrast, where you can make it lighter or a little less dark. There is a volume if you want to switch to no volume, or you want to increase the volume, you can do that. The machine will be preset to millimeters. I'm also a good fan of inches, so if you want to come in here and change that, you can do that. Recognize that there's 4 pages here, so you want to scroll through. We have touchscreen calibration. We've got it set at yes. Let's spend a little bit of time on the format section. So when you want to download patterns to a USB, your USB has to be formatted before you can actually insert it into the machine. And this is where you would come into common settings in the format section. And so what you'd want to do is, once this is lit up, you would want to press the USB, and then this is when you would actually plug in your USB to be formatted. If your USB is not formatted or not formatted correctly, the machine can't read or won't read any designs that you put on the USB. So that's really important that you do that, is to format those USBs. We have a standby timer, which you can change if you'd like. We have an upper thread sensor. We have a sewing light. We have a quiet mode. So quiet mode means if somebody else is in the room and you want to turn this on, it will actually sew at the lowest speed, which is 400. And so it'll slow, it's on a quiet mode. And I would just say that it's a fantastic option when maybe a baby is sleeping. But remember, when you come back to the machine, you might want to check if you have it on quiet mode or not. And as we navigate to the next screen, we have bobbin clean holder message, which I really like, because sometimes we forget to get in there and clean that, so that'll pop up when it gets time to change. If you want to change your background colors, you can do so. All right, so we're on our first tab here, which is common settings. And we just reviewed all the pages. Now I want to select this one with the hoop. and you'll have a couple different options to adjust if you choose to do so. So first one is the tension, and usually I don't adjust this unless maybe I'm using like metallic thread or something like that. You may want to adjust that if you need to do so. So this is where you would do that. And the next one is remaining bobbin thread. So this is an auto thread sensor that will tell you when your bobbin thread is low. If it knows it's in the middle of a project and it doesn't think it has enough bobbin thread, it actually will tell you. You can override it if you want, but this you can change this if you want. And that means you get the most out of your bobbin thread, which is nice. So sometimes I recommend moving it down, but again, it's totally preference on how you might adjust the remaining bobbin thread. You can scroll through here. This is where you would adjust your speed. The machine will come factory set at 600. This machine can go up to 860 and as low as 400. So you can come in here and adjust that. Quiet mode, like I said, is set at 400. If you're sewing thicker seams with zippers, things of that nature, I definitely would recommend slowing down your machine. But again, this is where you would change your speed. We have one stitch stop, and usually I just recommend having that off. Consecutive color grouping, we'll talk more about this in the editing mode, but that is where if you were doing a design, let's say it was a sunflower and you had 5 stops and maybe 2 of the color passes were the same color, you could turn this on so it would do all of the yellow at the same time so that you're not having to switch out your thread maybe 3 or 4 times, if that makes sense. So that's a great option to minimize how many times you're changing out your thread. Hoop conformation, I always recommend keeping this on. If you turn this machine off, you put a design that's a large design and you might sew it in another size hoop, your machine doesn't know what hoop you're sewing with, and we don't like to hear broken needles and hitting the sides of the hoops. And so I always recommend keeping that on so that your machine knows what hoop you're using. You can do some hoop calibration. You can do thread cutting, which I like keeping on, but certainly if you like to keep that off, you can. We have a color change on and a cutting command off. Again, you can change these if you want. This is your thread selection. So they have preloaded some brands of thread. If you wanted to come in and look at the thread that some of the brands are offering and look at the different colors, you can do so. So you can select any thread that you want. Not all threads will be listed. I actually don't really use this, but if you find it helpful, you can definitely select whatever brand of thread that you want to use. And then you can scroll through the next page, which is the last page, which is your grid line and the grid size, and then the resume mode. So I would recommend, especially when you get your machine home, that you go through these different settings and make sure you kind of know where everything is, so that if you needed to address something, you can get to it. Of course, your manual is going to be very helpful navigating through all of these pages as well. All right, so as we navigate over here to the flag button, when you press that, it will default to English, but we have multi-languages on here that you can choose another languages if you prefer, but it will default to English. All right, so the next key down is the question mark tab. So think of this as sort of your help desk. So if you needed help on any of these topics, winding the bobbin, replacing the needle, you can simply come in here and click on this and it will show you a page-by-page step on how to, in this case, thread your machine, which is helpful if maybe you haven't sewn for a little while and you forgot, or maybe you're just brand new. This is very helpful. A little help desk right on your LCD panel. So next up is your lock key. This is a good feature if maybe you have kids around the house, or if you don't want anybody touching your machine. They also recommend you locking it when you are threading the machine. So you want to just press that lock button, hit OK, and the machine mode will go into lock mode. All right, now I want to show you some other information that's located on your LCD panel. So we're going to come in here to patterns, and I'm actually going to come back here and I'm going to go under favorite designs, and I'm going to select the rockets. And so I'm going to go ahead and push OK to keep hands clear. The hoop will move. And so let's talk about what you're going to see on the screen here. So first it's going to tell me what size hoop that I need, which is your 5x5 hoop. Now remember, in the settings, I actually changed it from millimeters to inches. So this is why I love this feature, is it's going to tell me I need my 5x5 hoop. So I'm going to press OK. And let's start at the top and we'll move our way down. So the first that you see up here is the hoop that you should be using for this design, which is your SQ14B. Those will all be etched on the hoops. This is your 5x5 hoop. SQ is square, or you'll see RE for rectangle. Next up, this is telling me that my design is 4x4 by 4x2 inches. It's got 5 colors in my design, that I have already set my design at 800 stitches per minute, and that this is going to take 21 minutes to stitch out. So this is helpful information to see up front on how many colors you might have ready to be on standby for this particular design. Now, if we come down here, there's some other information to pay attention to. So this is 0 of 13,266 stitches. And what I like about the Janome is that each step or color change, it actually tells me how many stitches in each step, which I really like. So there's the 5 color changes, and you can see how it goes through the different color changes. And as I navigate, like I'm on the 5th step right here, and I've already stitched out 10,066 stitches of the 13,266 stitches. So you can go back and you can go forward during the color stitches. Next up, let's pay attention to right here, which is your crosshair, and that's where your needle position is going to go. And so as you go through the different phases, I want you to pay attention to this little X or crosshair. And as we go through all of the different color changes, you can see as it's sewing where the needle is going, which I really like. I like this feature for a couple reasons. Is if my thread breaks, I know I can go back or I can go forward and I can follow my needle around, which is a nice feature to have. So this feature up here is going to tell you the colors of each of the steps, which I really like. So this is in full color, and if I press this, you'll see the petal, and each one will highlight as you go through the different color phases. So as you click on this, and I'm going to actually go through my pages and go through the different steps, and as I do so, you can see right here my first step is sort of this green. You can see my wings of my rocket are going to be green, and as I go through, now the body of the rocket is gray, and then it's the yellow for the flame, and then you see the red for the outer flame, and then black is the outline. So I like this because this can show me what color is being sewn, and so that helps me decide if I wanted to change the colors, I can do so. I'll know exactly where it's being stitched. So that's kind of a neat feature to have. Next up is your basting stitch. And if you're floating something, the basting stitch is really nice to have. And you can baste a single baste or a double baste. Usually I just do a single baste when I'm hooping, but again, that's preference, but that is your basting. And you can set it to be center or set it to be on the corners, totally up to you. All right, so if you double click on this, so we had it on thread where we could see our thread color changes. If you press it again, color jumping goes away. Next up is if you wanted to rotate on the axis on your design, you can do so. So you can, and it will tell you how much you're in this red box, how much you're rotating it. So you can rotate that if you want. I'm going to go back, and then like the other pages, page up, page back, we have one here as well. So let's continue down. And here, right here is our thread. What this is telling you is the colors of each of the color stops. So green, blue, yellow, red, and black. which I really like if you're setting up your colors ready to be swapped out. If you press the needle tab, this is going to tell you how many stitches per color. So if you want, maybe if you're low on thread, you want to just make sure you have enough thread, but I kind of like this amount of detail that's telling you the amount of stitches per color that you'll be stitching out. If we continue down onto our next button here, we have any adjustments that we might need to do for tension. 2.6 is usually where I keep that at, and this is your auto, your tail. And if you wanted to reduce that, you can do that. And then the last one is just the hoop. And so this is going to show you in a little video form on how you want to clip in your hoop so you are ready to embroider the design. We'll X out of that. And so again, when you come through here, especially when you're starting, you want to just become familiarized with all the different features that you have within your design, what you're reading and what the information means. I think that if you do so, it will just help your confidence level on your new machine. We'll push the home button and we'll come back. All right, so we went through the pattern designs. Again, this machine has 180 built-in designs. It has 6 fonts. It can do monogramming, and it also can do editing. Like I said, we're going to save that for another video. So make sure you subscribe and like this video so you can be alerted when this video drops. I'm going to go into greater detail on how to edit designs, how to move designs, how to copy, paste. I'll go into a lot more detail on how to do some different things, and we're also going to do a sew out. So make sure you stay tuned and continue your education on all the great possibilities that you can do with the Janome 550 LE. And that's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed this video and maybe you learned a thing or two on some features that maybe you didn't know this amazing machine has. If you have any questions, you know how to reach me. You can call me at 813-661-9000. Visit our website at janomejunkies.com. You never know when we have special deals running, so call us. And we have new videos on our Janome Junkies YouTube channel going over this machine in much more depth. Remember, the next video, part 2, is going to be all things editing. So, have questions, call me, and until then, I can't wait to see what you're stitching.